All right, all right, all right. Freedom from alcohol. What's going on? It is me, Chris, got Lauren and Matt. Hey, guys.
Hey, hey.
Hello, hello.
Trying a new thing here today. So bear with us if it's a little bit weird and choppy, as is life. So, as is an alcohol free journey, it's not going to always be smooth. So, that's a good metaphor to kind of kick us off with this one. But the topic we want to talk about today is being a dry drunk versus a happy non-drinker. So, what exactly does that mean? And if you've never heard the term dry drunk before, one of you guys want to explain what that means? Matt, if go ahead.
Yeah, so dry drunk is for me, my definition of it is that you are living your life exactly as you normally would have. You've changed zero habits other than the fact that the beer or drink of choice is out of your hand. Other than that, you're just literally going about your business the way you normally would, and out of that becomes this like resentment of this like, well, I'm doing
Yeah.
this, but everything that like would otherwise cue you or trigger you to drink is still there. So you sit in this sort of stewing of, man, like I'm doing this, but usually I'd be drinking right by now, and it's really keeps you in that like holding pattern. And
Wish I could have a drink, but I can't.
yes, you're thinking on the lacking side of your experience, which leads to resentment, bitterness, and usually kind of like asshole kind of behavior.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, who wants to go through life like that? I certainly didn't. And I don't know about you guys, but when I was contemplating, like, okay, what would an alcohol-free life look like? That's what I always envisioned that's how it had to be.
Right.
And how freaking hopeless is that? How daunting is that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, same thing, Chris. There's like I think that's when you're going through a change or something, I think it's natural to initially focus on, what you're going to be missing out on, right? And then eventually, as you progress, and this is where like the mindset piece comes in, is like you eventually, okay, no, yeah, I've given up that, as the phrase goes, that one thing to gain everything, right? But initially, I think it's human nature to focus on what you're giving up, and then, man, it's like that's where that uncomfortable emotions can come up, and that's what we're here to talk about, like how to get past that quicker, or even skip that step by just having the right mindset going in.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like if you think about going through a breakup, but then the rest of your life you still wish you could be with that person, and you look at their picture and you stalk them on social media and you're sad that you can't be with them. And Jesus, I don't want to live that way. And I think that a lot of people quit drinking that way. And then they get down the road so far and they go, well, F it, this sucks. I might as well go back to drinking, because at least when I had the alcohol in my life, I had that thing to look forward to at the end of the day. And now I'm just forcing myself not to do something. And if you ask me, that is the biggest problem when it comes to wanting to quit drinking, and why people go back. But it doesn't have to be that way, right? Like, I, all of us here don't, and I don't want to speak for you guys, so you speak for yourselves, but we know each other, right? We don't sit here and pine over, oh God, somebody's having a drink, I'm going to sniff it because I wish I could have it, but I can't, right? Like, we don't do that.
No. So a dry drunk to me is really just someone who is physically sober. They're not pouring alcohol in their mouth, but that's the only change they've made. And that creates that resentment, and that so if we are hanging out with a bunch of people who are drinking, we're just mad and left out, and we're deprived. So it's the psychological part that we haven't let go of yet. So we still believe that there are so many benefits to alcohol, but we can't have it because we aren't strong enough to do it properly, right? And so we become, not us, but people who do it in this manner where they're like, I'm just going to quit drinking. They find that they're miserable. And then, yeah, why wouldn't you go back to drinking? But they didn't find we didn't do the digging. We didn't figure out what you were trying to cope with by using alcohol. What were you numbing? What was the problem that you were trying to fill? What can we do instead to get that dopamine that's in a healthy way, a healthy coping mechanism? So I feel like it's just like, hey, we just got started on this sober journey, and you quit right when you put down the drink, and that's all you did.
Yeah, and the mindset is the same. You're not working on any of that. You're hanging out with the same people. You're going to the same places. You're not changing anything about yourself. Well, yeah, then of course, alcohol is going to seem appealing to you still. So that's one of the things that we focus on with our clients. Our whole approach is, we don't want you to be a dry drunk. We don't want you to go through life feeling deprived or missing out or miserable. We want you to really enjoy your life. And figure out who you are as a non-drinker and build towards that. What is that ideal life? And I think so many people, the further they get down the road with alcohol, the harder it is to envision that life. I speak to everybody on our discovery calls, the consultation calls, and I always ask them, like, where do you want to be a year from now? And so many people are like, well, I have no idea. I can't even imagine a life without alcohol. And that's really sad, and but that's what the alcohol does. It gets us into a smaller and smaller space, and it's like our focus just becomes on that, and we can't even imagine a life without it. We can't even imagine, how am I going to go to a Friday happy hour with my coworkers and not have a drink? Like, that's going to suck. How about when my wife and family and I, we're going to go on a vacation and you're telling me I can't have any drinks there? That sounds awful to me. And we focus on, again, as Matt was saying, the lack part of it. And that's where it just gets sad. It gets hopeless feeling. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't have to be that way, because you can approach this with hope and with excitement,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, speak from your guys' point of view. What worked for you guys to not be that dry drunk and instead become this person who doesn't want alcohol in their lives anymore?
Yeah, I had a lot of one day I'll get to, like a list of one day I'll get tos,
Yeah.
that there was the distortion of the drinking that always got in the way of, or it just didn't. For example, like the gym, like I was always an athlete up until basically until I started drinking in high school, right? And I was like, man, I'll get back to that one day, right? And then I would try having a couple beers and then go to the gym, and it's like, this is not working at all. It's just ridiculous. Such conflicting energy. And so that's what I did. I just, I have a list of things that I've like, one day I'll get around to this. And all that stuff excited me, and, I think everybody has it, even if you don't think that you do. Yeah, go back to what you used to do as a kid, or like, what excited you before you started drinking. That's where I went, right? Reading when you're drunk. And again, doesn't really work, right?
Doesn't
Yeah,
work.
no, it doesn't work at all.
So like,
If you even get to it, it's
if you even
pointless.
get to it, yeah, 100%, right? So
Yeah.
those types of activities that I knew damn well that I enjoyed, but I had just they had been sidetracked for years, dormant. That's what I leaned into, and it did get me excited, and I started to rediscover what I enjoyed about myself, and from there, like, confidence and self trust built up, and the physical side of working out is tremendous, but it's honestly, for me, is the mental health side. And Lauren touched on it, the brain chemistry that you can get naturally from doing a workout is similar. Obviously, it doesn't have the massive artificial peaks, but then also it doesn't have the valleys, right? You have the nice little come down afterwards, right? As
Mhm.
opposed to this deficit that you would get from drinking. So all of that really added up, and that was my strategy, Chris, and Lauren, was the just like my one day I'll get to list, and then just engaging in that, and my goodness, it was completely life changing for me.
Yeah. What about for you, Lauren?
Yeah, so I think for me, it was all about figuring out what I was going to do with all that other time. Because if we do just quit drinking, we don't do anything with it. Well, shoot, I've got a couple hours every day that are, what are we doing? And of course, we can go and do the things we've always wanted to do, such as be a more present mom, be a more present wife in the house, and clean better, and cook better, and all of those things. But also, what else are you going to do to fill that time? And if we don't fill it with anything else, it is kind of like you're sitting around at 6 o'clock and you're like, well, why wouldn't I drink then? Because this is stupid. There's nothing going on here. For me, it was about changing my mindset. It was about first knowing that it wasn't benefiting me. It was a frenemy. I thought she was my best friend, and I had her up on that shelf, and all glory be to that wine, right? And I'm going to say that the messaging that's out there is meant to make us think that it's got to be this like dry drunk thing. Like, the messaging out there is if you do quit drinking, you are going to be miserable, and that's seen everywhere. And so I'm sure that's a deterrent for people, just like the messaging about, hey, you can't quit without medical supervision. You might die. So now you have this excuse to quit, to keep drinking or whatever, because you're scared of dying. When
And that
99 times out of 100, that's not necessary at all.
Yeah,
But I
that's how
think,
they show it in the movies and the TV shows. If somebody quits drinking and then it's like, oh, somebody is tempted because there's a bottle of alcohol right there. Is he going to do it? Is he not? And you feel this pity for them. And it's like, well,
yeah.
who wants to go through life have people feeling pity for them? Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, I totally would not want that for myself. Yeah. And so, like, coming to a space where I don't want the alcohol anymore, to your point, I can go to places, I go places all the time where there's alcohol being poured open bars, weddings, whatever. Not like I'm a socialite out in town every night or whatever, but I'm out and doing these things and I'm not bothered. I'm not looking at the person next to me that has the glass of wine and thinking she gets the one thing that I truly want and I can't have it. And I'm just sitting here trying to make it through the night so I can get in bed, go home and say I've made it sober for another day. I didn't want that at all. So
Yeah.
the fact that we have this way to change our mindset and effectively just not want it anymore, not have the desire for it because we see it as stupid all of a sudden, instead of like, hey, that's my bestie. She's the cure for everything. Now I'm like, why would I do that? She's like totally toxic. She's not for me. So now it's this empowerment. We're not broken. We're empowered. And isn't that what we're all about? Like, we're all super successful. Our clients are successful people. They've got their shit together. And it's just this one thing. But the messaging behind it has made it to where people don't even want to reach out and say like, hey, I might be having a problem. And isn't that going to work best for big alcohol? Right? To
Yeah.
just have people scared to mention that they're having a problem, because we look at the problem, the person as being the problem instead of the drug. Whereas in every other situation, we know that heroin's problematic. We know that coke is a bad thing. We know that meth is not something that we should do or we're going to get addicted. Alcohol, we just see those two ends, the 0 or the 100, the bum on the park bench or the person in Cheers or Seinfeld just having a beer and having a great time. So the messaging is out there is so confusing, but there is a way to do it that does not create that deprivation. That doesn't mean your life is going to suck. And then to Matt's point, we're going to go out and find the things that you used to like to do and go do more of that. I've got a client this weekend and his homework for the weekend is to go skiing. Just to get out and find dopamine in a healthy way that moves your body, that's not tearing your body down, that's not creating another addiction. So that's kind of how I did it. And that's how we coach.
Yeah. I mean, we've had people that have gone skydiving because they used to go skydiving and they forgot about it. And then we always have our clients write down a list of like 50 things of what do you want to do? Start thinking about this, get it on paper so you see it. And then it actually makes you do it instead of just kind of thinking in your head like, oh, that would be nice to do someday. No, let's go do it.
Right.
We've had people move cross country and buy the farm that they've always wanted to buy. People that have gotten out of a soul-sucking job and gotten into something that they've always wanted to do. It's like when you want to quit drinking, think beyond just not drinking. Think beyond what that could look like for you, because I got to tell you, there's an amazing life waiting for you on the other side of this thing. And I don't ever wake up and go, God, I wish I was drinking again. Oh, man, I sure wish I had some anxiety and some guilt and regret this morning. Like, no, it just doesn't happen. I go, thank God I got this freaking monkey off my back. I'm not a slave to this poison anymore. I'm not spending all my money on it. And the problem, I think, becomes when there's still in your head, your mind, that alcohol is benefiting you in some way. And whether you consciously believe that or not, somewhere in your brain, if you've gotten addicted to alcohol, you have these beliefs that, oh, alcohol is going to cure my anxiety. Alcohol is going to make me be less social awkward. Alcohol is going to help me sleep. Whatever it is, that is still going to be running in the background. And so one of the big areas that we work with people on is taking those background programs out. And this is what I really believe works, because those programs are running in our unconscious mind, our subconscious. Okay. And that's 95% of what makes all of us. Our subconscious mind has been programmed throughout our whole life. And so when people try to quit drinking, the dry drunks, if you will, and they just go, I got to quit, got to go to meetings, got to talk about it, got to force myself not to have it. You're using that 5% of you. And that is the conscious mind. And the way that I always explain it is like, okay, if you got 5 horses going one direction, the conscious mind, and 95 horses going in the other direction, which direction is going to win? And obviously it's going to be the 95. And so it's really important that if you want to quit drinking, and if you want to make any big change in your life, honestly, you have to work on that 95%, which is the subconscious. And so part of what we do with clients is the hypnosis, is the teaching them how to reprogram your subconscious mind, because you can do that, and the best times to do it are right before you fall asleep, first thing in the morning. And there's ways that you can begin changing that programming that's going on internally. But what ends up happening is people don't do that. And then, maybe they've stayed away from alcohol for a little while. They're white knuckling it. But eventually it's a nice, warm, sunny day. They see a cold beer at a ballpark or whatever. And that automatic program that's running in the background fires up. And before you know it, they're taking a drink. And that little voice in their head has said, you know what, you've done really well. You haven't had a drink in a while. You've got this thing under control now. And if you're not aware that voice is going to pop up every once in a while, you're not aware of the subconscious programming that's going on. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to slip back into that, because I did it so many times until I realized, I got to do this differently.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, man. Yeah, absolutely. It's like that programming. And I'm sure we'll do I would love to do a whole episode on like the subconscious and, the work that you specifically do, Chris. And obviously Lauren and I support as the best way that we can, but the whole hypnotherapy aspect of it and working on the subconscious mind. But, that's a big part of the journey. Right. And we're all X amount of years in, and I still work on it. Those patterns of behavior that led me to drink, that were even before, that were present in my life, the conditioning that was present in my life that led me to drinking, that was susceptible to the addictive patterns and such, that I'm still like working on, right? The things that happened to me when I was younger, when I was a child, or even a teenage, in the teenager years, right? And here I am, coming up on 5 years alcohol free, and I'm still working on that stuff, right? So it's not like, again, it's not a quick fix, but, and it can be uncomfortable, but it's worth saying, it's like you get competent at being uncomfortable. You get to the point where it's just like, it's going to the gym. You're uncomfortable for an hour, but goddamn, you feel a lot better afterwards, don't you?
If you can
So,
learn to sit in discomfort, your life will change.
dude,
No doubt about it.
100%, right? Yeah, absolutely. And change by its own nature is uncomfortable, right? And
Yep.
yet change is so exciting, right? So yeah, very good point, Chris. So that's where I wanted to go with that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, if you just boil it down to, you take two people, one person believes that they can have a wonderful life without alcohol in it. That's strongly, they believe it. The other person doesn't believe it. There's no way. Alcohol's, my parents drank, my friends drink. It's all around me. There's no way I can be a non-drinker. It's going to be a struggle. Well, which one is going to have a better time at becoming a non-drinker?
Right.
Because
Right? I
both
mean,
are
Right.
true. Both are
it
Yeah.
true.
really,
It's what
yeah,
you believe.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like the Henry Ford quote, right?
yeah.
Whether you believe it or you don't, you're right.
the,
Yeah.
the the stories we tell ourselves, the beliefs that we have about ourselves, really, that's it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. It really doesn't, right? So, but I
Yeah.
think many people do, because part of the problem is the only thing that's been out there is, oh, you got a drinking problem, you got to go to A, got to go to rehab,
Mhm.
or you just got to try to white knuckle it on your own, right? Those are
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
options. Well,
Right.
how many people do we talk to that are like, well, I did AA, I just wanted to drink after I went to a meeting.
Yeah.
It didn't
Yeah.
didn't work for them.
Mhm.
Rehab didn't work for whatever reason. So now what? Now what do I do? Then you get back into this dark hopelessness feeling again. And if you're listening to this and maybe you've gone down those roads, we understand. All of us have been there, where we know it can be hard and like, well, what am I going to do here? Honestly, there are alternative ways, and whether that is working with a coach like with our program, or finding somebody else that's going to fit for you, it doesn't matter to us, right? Like, we'd love to work with you if you relate to what we're saying. Absolutely, right? We have a 96% success rate for a reason, because the people
Oh
that come
yeah.
in and commit, they're gonna have amazing results. I just texted one of our clients today. She's been alcohol free for about a year and a half, and she told me her brain was broken. We started working together, and now she's remodeling her house. She's done all these things. Like, she's just like, oh my god, I never knew that I could have this life. Like, our clients are freaking inspiring to us. Like, I
Hmm.
love hearing and watching them transform themselves. So if you're listening to this going, I'm tired of this cycle of the alcohol, and saying I'm going to stop and then not, and then going back and forth, do something about it. Take action. And we'd love to work with you. You can go to coachbychris.com and see, clients that we've worked with. We have a ton of interviews on there where you can hear from their own mouths. Who I was just talking about, her name is Jessica. Go watch on the website. You can see the interview of where she was and where she's at now, and other people that we've worked with. It's really incredible. So, regardless, though, we don't want you to be a dry drunk. The whole reason for this episode is saying it doesn't have to be that way. So, yeah.
And if you're there and you are a dry drunk and you've been dry and you haven't had any alcohol for 3 years, you know what? Would still behoove you to start working on that mindset so that your life can get a little easier, because it's not about giving up the one thing. It's about getting rid of something that no longer serves you so that you can go live the rest of your life. And a lot of what we do is help you rebuild it after you get rid of the one thing that's taken you down.
Yeah.
But
And
it's letting it go. It's choosing to get rid of it instead of
Yes.
somebody tells me I have to get rid of it, or, I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to have it because I'm broken and,
yep.
I can't enjoy it like a regular person. So it's all about just letting go of the one thing that's not serving you so that you can reach your potential.
Yeah, and it's okay to let that go. It
Well,
really
you can
is.
have a
It's
sound
not.
effect now. Doop doop.
Yeah,
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 rim shot.
exactly. Oh,
Yes,
you know what? We do have that, this new little fin-angled thing. Here we go.
let's do it.
There it is.
Ricochet.
Yeah, that's the punchline, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
Hey-oh.
Hey-oh.
Yeah, so there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Again, it really helps us out if you can share it with people who you believe would benefit from it. If you can give us a 5-star, a like, even if you could write a little something, that would be even
Yeah,
better, because
big
the more
time.
people that do that, the more people that are going to get this message. And we would love that for you. We want this thing to grow. We want more people to realize, hey, there's a different way to go about this. I don't have to be miserable and depriving myself. I can go and get that frickin' life that I want and I deserve, and start believing that you do deserve that life, because you
Yeah,
do. And
yeah,
you may have been kicked down, and you don't feel that you deserve that. You've told yourself all this negative self-talk for so long. Those days are over, man. It's time for you to say, you know what, I deserve to have this life. Because until you do that, you'll still believe that you don't deserve it. And we don't want that for you. So appreciate you listening. We will check in with you guys again next week. New episodes every Tuesday now. So, and if you've not already, go join our Freedom from Alcohol Facebook group. The link will be down below as well. All right, guys, have a great week.
beautiful. Thank you.
Beautiful. Take care. Bye, y'all.